Hello, boys and girls. Today we are on lesson 8-1, starting on page 289, and our focus today are addition properties, kind of general rules that addition follows all the time. So let's take a look at lesson 8.1. Let's look at solve and share up here first. It says Olivia arranges cups of buttons on 3 trays. So that's going to be important. I'm going to underline 3 trays. She records the number of buttons on each cup. Which tray has the most buttons? That's also important. That's the big question, right? It says use place value blocks or drawings to help solve the problem. Okay, so when we look at this, it says I can use place value and properties to understand addition. Can also look for patterns to solve problems. That's always a key thing in math, looking for patterns. All right, our character here says, are you making the same calculations more than once? How can you use structure to help solve the problem? So if we look at these 3 trays, A and B and C, they all have, I think, the same numbers. They all have 18, right? Yep. Do they all have 24? There's 24, 24, and there's 24. And then do they all have 22? They sure do. Okay. So, if we solve tray 18, I can write that down as 18 plus 24 plus 22 for tray A. Okay, so I write it vertically. I make sure my ones numbers are all in the same column, nice and neat and straight. I also make sure my tens digits are also lined up nice and neat and straight. All right, so I'm going to erase those last 2 little arrows I drew. There we go. And now we can add up our ones column. Here's our ones column right here. We're going to add it first. I always like to look for numbers that are easy to add or that make groups of 10. And wouldn't you know, we have a group of 10. 8 plus 2 is 10. And then I can add 4 more and I get 14. So when I write that down, 14 has 4 ones. It also has a 10. And so I put my 10 up here. Now I can include that when I add the tens column. When I add my tens column, there's 2 plus 2. I know my double facts, that's 4. And then I just add 1 more is 5, and another one is 6. And I get 64. 64 for tray A. Okay, now when I look at tray B, again, I write down my numbers, line them up vertically. 18, 22, and 24. And I put my addition symbol down at the bottom, draw a line underneath it. Again, I have my ones column lined up nice and neat and straight, and the tens column is also. Okay, so I'll get rid of those 2 arrows. And now I can add up the ones column. Again, I have a group of 10. 8 plus 2 is 10, plus the 4 is 14, just like we had over here. Okay, so 14, the 110 goes on top, and the 4 ones go on the bottom. Now I can add my tens column, which is right here. And again, 2 plus 2 is 4, plus 1 more is 5, and 1 more is 6 for 64. So we have a slightly different order from A to B. If we notice, 24 was second on tray A, and it was last on tray B. 22 was last on tray A, but it was second on tray B. Didn't matter the order, we still end up with a sum, which is the answer to an addition problem, the sum of 64. Any guesses what's going to happen when we add tray C? Slightly different order. 22 is first, 18 is second, 24 is third. And then I can add those up. Again, 8 plus 2, right here, is 10, plus my 4 ones is 14. Again, 14 has 1 10, that goes up top, and 4 ones, that goes under the ones column. And I can add those tens up, and I have 2 tens and 2 tens is 4, plus 1 is 5, plus 1 is 6. Again, our sum is 64, same as the other two problems. So the order doesn't matter. Let's look back. Olivia pours all the buttons on tray A into a bowl. She then divides the buttons equally into 8 cups. So all we have to do here, and we haven't really practiced this yet, but if we're taking all the buttons from tray A, okay, that's 64 buttons. We're going to pour them all out, and then we're going to put them equally into 8 cups. So all we have to do is draw 8 cups. So we can draw a cup like that, which is real artistic, I know. Or what I'm going to do is just draw 8 circles. Each circle represents 1 cup. There are 4 cups, 5 cups, 6 cups, 7 cups, 8 cups. Now I just need to put buttons into the cups. A total of 64 buttons. So there's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Notice I put 1 button in each cup, and now I can go back and put a second button in each cup. So far I have 8 buttons. 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22, 23, 24, 25, 26, 27, 28, 29, 30, 31, 32. I'm at 32 so far. When I make my 5th group, I'm going to draw a diagonal line. Then it's much easier for me to count them. So I was at 32, made my diagonal line. Now I'm up to 33, 34, 35, 36, 37, 38, 39, 40. Again, that diagonal line shows us we have a group of 5 in that circle or in that cup. So right now I'm at 40 buttons. I need to keep going. 41, 42, 43, 44, 45, 46, 47, 48. We're getting close. 49, 50, 51, 52, 53, 54, 55, 56, 57, 58, 59, 60, 61, 62, 63, 64. I put all 64 buttons into the cups, same number in each cup, and then the big question was, how many buttons are in each cup? And if we just look at one cup, we can see a group of 5, 6, 7, 8. 8 buttons in each cup. Okay, so we can draw a picture to really help us out. Let's go to our next page and work a little bit more here. What are some properties of addition? Again, these are like the rules of addition that we might have. And it says we can use properties of addition to join groups. All right, and she tells us this is a big one we always have to remember. Parentheses show what to do first. So whenever we see some numbers in parentheses, we need to do that before we do other things. So maybe the hardest one to remember is our associative property of addition. And it is the property where we group things together. Okay? You can group addends, and again, now addends are numbers we add together in any way, and the sum, or the answer, will be the same. And again, we saw that as a great example when we added up all these 3 trays on the previous page. All right, so if we look here, we have 18 right here. This is 18 plus 14. Notice it's in parentheses, so that tells us we would do that first. After we do that, then we will add 15. Okay? So another way to look at it is 18 plus 14 plus 15. And now here, 14 and 15 are in parentheses, meaning we would do that first, and then we could add in the 18. So here they added 18 plus 14, and we can do that a couple of different ways. I'm going to write it out like this, 18 plus 14. 8 plus 4 is 12. 12 has a 10 and 2 ones, and now I can add up my tens column, which is 3 tens, 32. Another way we could look at that is to add up the blocks that they show us. There's 10, 20, 21, 22, 23, 24, 25, 26, 27, 28, 29, 30, 31, 32. So that was 32, just like I came up with. And then we add 15 to that, and our total sum is 47. All right. If we use the associative property and group them differently, the second example down here, and we add 14 plus 15 first. Okay. Well, 14 plus 15, I'm going to write that here real quick. Line them up. Add my ones column. 4 plus 5 is 9. And then add my tens column, 110 and 110. It's 2 tens, it's 29. Or we can look at the blocks. 10, 20, 21, 22, 23, 24, 25, 26, 27, 28, 29, just like I had. Then they add 18 to it, and they get 47 as the sum. So it doesn't matter which way you group them, if you're adding all of them, you end up with the same sum. All right, here's our another property of addition called the commutative property. This one is usually the easiest to remember. All that means is you can add them in any order and the sum will be the same. So if we look down here at the bottom, 57 plus 35, you can switch that around and you get 35 plus 57. They will both equal the same thing. Okay? So I'm going to write it down. 57 plus 35. 7 plus 5 is 12. That's 2 ones and a 10. And then I add up my tens column. 5 tens plus 3 tens is 8 tens, plus one more 10 up there is 9 tens, 92. Okay. Now I'm going to also do 35 plus 57, different order. 35 plus 57. Add up my ones column. 5 plus 7 is 12. 12 has 2 ones and a 10. Now I can add up my tens column, and I have 5 tens plus 3 tens is 8, plus one more is 9. So I get 9 tens for 92. The sum is the same. They both equal 92. So the commutative order, or commutative property of addition, we can just flip them around and we get the same answer. And finally, the identity property of addition. That's also the zero property of addition. The sum of 0 and any number is that same number. 39 plus 0 is 39. So the identity doesn't change when you add 0. The identity of 39 stays the same. When we add 0, it's still 39. If we add 4 plus 0, we get 4. A million plus 0, we get a million. 12,900,000 plus 0 is 12,900,000. So when we add 0, the number doesn't change. Okay. One quick thing to look at here for guided practice today. I'm going to walk us through these first 7. What I would suggest, though, if you're comfortable doing these, I suggest pausing the video, and then after you've answered these 7 in guided practice, 1, 2, sorry about that. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. After you've answered those 7, then you can come back, resume the video, and check your answers with the answers that I have. If you still need help and you're not confident quite yet, just let the video keep playing as I walk through and explain how to answer the questions. And as I'm doing that, try to learn then a little bit more and understand how this all works. Okay, so we're not just copying what I say that way. We're really still trying to understand exactly what's happening and why it works. Okay, let's look at number 1. If you're confident, you can pause the video now, answer all 7, and then resume the video and check your work. If you need more guidance, then stay with me and we'll go through them. Ralph says he can rewrite 4 plus 5 plus 21 as 9 plus 21. Do you agree? Okay, why or why not? Well, one thing we learned on the last page was that when we see parentheses, that tells us we do that thing first. 4 plus 5 equals 9. Okay, and then, so we did that first. Now we can add 21. When we write that, we can write it either 9 plus 21, or I could write it as 21 plus 9 because the commutative property tells me I can write it either way. I like to put the bigger number on top. I think it's just easier for me to work it that way than putting this small one. I think this one looks a little strange when I write the small number on the top. But we can do either one. 9 plus 1 is 10. So 10 is written like this. The number 10 has 0 ones, so that goes in the ones column. And it has 1 10. So I'll put that up in the tens column. Now I can add that 10 plus the 2 ones here, and I get 3 tens. So 9 plus 21 is 30. Or, over here, 1 plus 9 is 10. 1 10, 0 ones. Add my tens column, 2 plus 1 10 is 3 tens. I still get 30. So, when I use the associative property and write 9 plus 21, it equals 30. If we look at Ralph's addition problem, 9 plus 21, that's actually what we ended up solving. So, he is correct. I agree. Okay. Why? Both are 9 plus 21. There we go. Okay, let's look at number 2. What property is shown with this equation? How do you know? Now, we can look back in our book. We don't have to just memorize everything. So what I see here is they have 18 and 38 grouped here. Also, 18 and 38 are grouped here. So they didn't change any groupings. What they did do was move 65 from the beginning on this problem to the end on this problem. So they have changed the order. So let's look back on the previous page and let's look and see which one talks about changing the order. The grouping did not change. If we look at the example here, they had 18 plus 14, and in their other problem, they grouped 14 and 15. So they changed what numbers were grouped. On our example, the numbers are the same numbers are still grouped, so the grouping wasn't changed. Well, we're also not adding by 0, so it's not the 0 property or the identity property of addition. Let's take a look at our other property, the commutative property. You can put them in any order. So they change the order. Here on this first example, they have 57 first, and on this second example, they have 57 second. So they change the order, so that's the commutative property. So I can come back over here, and I can write commutative. Now you may need to look back in the book for spelling or something like that, which is totally fine. Commutative property. And how do I know? They changed the order. That's why we know it's the commutative property. They changed the order. I'm going to run out of room. Okay, there we go. They changed the order. That's why it's the commutative property. All right, 3 and 4. Identify each property. So same thing we just did on number 2. We just have to write down what the property is. If we look at number 3, here in this example, we have 4 plus 15 plus 26. Notice 15 and 26 are grouped together. Next to that, they grouped 4 plus 15 together and then added 26. So the grouping was changed. And if you look back on our previous page, when we are talking about grouping, that is, I'm making a mess here, so let me erase maybe just a little bit. When we talk about grouping, that is the associative property. I'll get my right pen that I want. There we go. Grouping is the associative property. All right, so that's what we'll need to write for question number 3, the associative property. And we can even abbreviate this a little bit. Associative property. Number 4, we have 17 plus 0 equals 17. All right, so let's match this up with what our 3 properties are on the other page. And we have the first one, the associative property, which is grouping. That wasn't a grouping one. Commutative order, where we change the order. Didn't really do that. And the identity property, the sum of 0 and any number is that same number. If we look over here, we're adding 0. So that is the identity property of addition. Identity. All right. 5 through 7. Write each missing number. Number 5. Something plus 90 equals 90. So if we think about our properties, we have the commutative property where we can switch numbers around, the associative property where we can group numbers, and the identity property where we add 0. 0 plus 90 equals 90. So we just put 0. And number 6, we have 42 plus 23. It's going to equal the same thing as 23 plus another number. All right, so again, think about our properties. Number 5 here was the identity property. That's where we add 0. We have 2 other properties. One where we can group numbers together with the parentheses and change those groupings. Or we have the commutative property where we can switch numbers around and they still equal the same thing. Number 6, we're switching numbers around. So 42 plus 23 becomes 23 plus 42. And by the way, those both equal 65. Okay? So don't get confused with this equal sign, meaning we add these 2 numbers and it equals this one. That's not what that means. That what the equal sign tells us is whatever's on this side has to equal the same thing as everything on that side. They both equal 65. And finally, we have number 7. 2 plus something plus 36 equals 2 plus 23 plus 36. Notice here they have grouped them, 23 and 36 together. Over here, we're going to group 2 and 23 together. We're using the associative property, our grouping property. Okay, that does it as far as the lesson goes, boys and girls. I'm going to leave the rest of the assignment, the activity, the lesson, whatever you'd like to call it, up to you. We have independent practice on this page with problems 8, 9, 10, 11, and also 12 through 19. So solve all those problems, and that should do it for you. Okay, this is Mr. P, and I'm out.